Another week down, and it was time to hit the trail. Before we made it to the next site, we decided to make a pit stop, a one-night stopover in Savanah, Georgia, to visit the Bonaventure Cemetary. And as you can see, it was absolutely stunning.
According to the internet, it's one of the most photographed cemeteries in the world. It was covered with old live oaks and Spanish moss, creating a beautiful and serene palace of rest for the thousands buried there. The cemetery got a bit of fame in media when it was featured in the 1994 novel Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil by John Berendt, and then it was also shown in the Clint Eastwood directed movie based on the book. It's the largest cemetery in the city, comprised of almost 160 acres.
It originally began as the privately owned Evergreen Cemetery in 1846. Back in the 1800s, cemeteries were meant to be more of a place where families would spend the entire day, away from the hustle and bustle of the city, with lots of open grassy areas for family picnics. I wish this was still the case, but for my mother and me, it really was. When I was growing up, we would visit cemeteries and have picnics. We would find the best epitaphs, and we'd see what age people were when they passed. I find cemeteries to be incredibly peaceful and a visual impression of a life long lost.
I think my personal favorite grave site was this amazing sculpture of St. Peter showing the gates of heaven. At the cemetery, you'll notice that a lot of family plots have either in perpetuity or perpetuity inscribed on some of the border of the grave plot. Unfortunately, looking down the hillside at the river, it looks like those that aren't marked for perpetual care are either tossed aside or left to erode into the river. I don't know what the story was behind these specific markers or what happened to the people who were buried beneath the markers, but I hope it's better than it looks.
Though the cemetery has many notable residents, the most recognizable was just a visitor who stayed there camping for 6 days and 7 nights, the environmentalist John Muir. John had stayed at the cemetery as it was the safest and cheapest accommodation that he could find while he waited for money to be sent from back home. He said the cemetery was breathtakingly beautiful and inspiring. So much so that he wrote a chapter about it in his book, 1,000-Mile Walk. The most conspicuous glory of Bonaventure is its notable avenue of live oaks. But of all plants of these curious tree gardens, the most striking and characteristic is the so-called long moss. It drapes all the branches from top to bottom, hanging in long silvery gray skeins. They produce a solemn funeral effect, singularly impressive. Bonaventure is called a graveyard, a town of the dead. But the few graves are powerless and such a depth of life. The rippling of living waters, the song of birds, the joyous confidence of flowers, the calm, undisturbable grandeur of the oaks mark this place of graves as one of the Lord's most favored abodes of life and light.
I got something going on over there.
After enjoying our one-night stay in Savanah, we left Red Oak Farms and later that day arrived at the Bulow Plantation Campground just outside of Daytona Beach, Florida. We were very pleased to find this area too was adorned with live oaks and Spanish moss. Our first mini-adventure was a day at the beach. Raina was much less afraid of the water this time around and even started playing with the waves.
Good girl, Raina.
That's enough exercise for me today.
You're such a good girl. You're such a good girl.
We also made a stop at the Casements, which was the winter home of John D. Rockefeller. Originally built in 1913, John purchased it in 1918, and he was 78 when he moved into the house. He threw lavish Christmas parties there and was known to hand out dimes to his neighbors and visitors like Will Rogers and Henry Ford. Guests would also receive a poem along with their new dime, which was believed to have been written by Rockefeller. It goes, "I was early taught at work as well as play. My life has been one long happy holiday. Full of work and full of play, I dropped the worry on the way, and God was good to me every day."
And it was at the Casements that Rockefeller died in his sleep on May 23rd of 1937. It now belongs to the city of Ormond Beach and serves as a cultural and community center. Sadly, I learned all of this information on Wikipedia, as the Casements weren't huge on their interpretation.
On our next outing, we found a little park to give Raina some exercise, and there were two little girls who were determined to play with our skittish pup.
Okay, come running back.
After some play in the park, we visited the Ponce de Leon Inlet Lighthouse and Museum. The lighthouse stands at 175 feet tall and is the tallest lighthouse in Florida, and one of the tallest in the U.S. It was originally constructed in 1835 as a conical tower, but soon after it was constructed, a storm washed out much of the sand around the base of the tower, weakening it. Then, during the Second Seminole War, Seminole Indians attacked the lighthouse, smashing the glass in the lantern room and setting fire to the wooden stairs. It was abandoned, and shortly after, it collapsed.
This current structure was constructed in 1887. It started off with a first order Fresnel lens, but now has a third order. Originally, it was a fixed light, but now it rotates and flashes 6 times every 30 seconds. The lighthouse and 3 keepers' dwellings have been fully restored, and you can go inside them to view the exhibits about life as a keeper and see how the lenses work to provide guiding light to those on the water.
Yeah.
Woodshed Video Theater. Look around
Privy
the corner
exhibit.
to see what was used here from 1887 until indoor plumbing was installed. That's cute.
Oh, I can't see because they reflect. There you go.
You can go in.
That's so cool.
Push and hold the button at the left.
To make sure that you can still see it.
Rotate the back side of it. This is called critical angle.
Without any refraction. And with it.
Oh wow, yeah.
It's pretty cool.
That's neat.
I finally get to see a first order Fresnel lens in person. It's huge.
And once we had explored everything on the ground, it was time for Dakota to face his fears and tackle the climb. I was more concerned with getting good shots.
Ha, got it. I was trying to get it all in the frame. That's how you say it.
I have no idea how to pronounce it.
The lighthouse had 203 steps, and Ayla now knows to always keep her phone video on landscape view rather than portrait.
Tell us what it's like to be afraid of climbing stairs.
So I don't have a fear of climbing stairs, and I don't have a fear of heights. I have a fear of falling.
I mean, big difference. Because you're definitely going to fall with all these railings.
I had completely forgotten that I had said that, and it was caught on film of me being a total jerk.
You made it.
I did.
You did.
And it's dumb, because once I'm up here, I'm perfectly fine.
Yeah, and you have to go down. You can't just stay up here.
Hey, you know, that's a problem for like 5 or 10 minutes from now.
I'm proud of you.
The top is closed off because it's still an active beacon.
Oh, I didn't know that's why it was closed off. I didn't know it was active.
Yeah.
Because it's still a navigational aid.
You're a navigational aid.
And I learned what I think that that thing down in the bottom is.
Mm-hmm.
So on the list of lighthouse duties, the original light was turned by a counterweight that would slowly lower the entire length of the lighthouse over time. So every morning they had to come and wind that weight up as high as it could possibly go.
That's cool.
So Dakota had faced his fears and summited the lighthouse. And we had another great day exploring the Florida coast. Where we were camping was a Thousand Trails System campground, and the best part was right next to it was the old Bulow Plantation Ruins. Of course, we had to check it out.
This was one of the more off-the-beaten-path historic sites which we really love. The Bulow Plantation was originally established in 1821 by Major Charles Wilhelm Bulow, who used enslaved labor to clear 2,200 acres of land for indigo, cotton, rice, and sugarcane crop, as well as a large sugar mill. After his death, his 17-year-old son inherited the property and business. Following the week's theme of walking in the steps of historic environmentalists, the Bulow Plantation was actually visited by John James Audubon, who was exploring the area in his study of American birds.
One of his works, featuring a local bird species, is thought to be the only surviving representation of the operating plantation, when Audubon included some of the structures in the background of one of his bird works. The plantation was destroyed in the Seminole War of 1836 and was eventually acquired by the state of Florida in 1945.
The signs around the plantation used language like the Indians claimed or believed the land was theirs, showing that Florida might have to come to terms with some historical facts. But we found a big chicken of the woods mushroom on our way out. Well, thanks for joining us for another adventurous week. It was a great start to our time in Florida, and we were looking forward to what the state had to offer.